By the end of this video, you're going to know how I went from loving my hobby to monetizing from it, because who needs happiness when you can have a slightly less empty bank account? This is my 3-step system to extract joy from your life. Number 1, find a hobby. Number 2, monetize from it. Number 3, see your joy of life disappear faster than the ray of sunlight in the UK. It's been over 2 years since I started personal training, and I have to say it's been a roller coaster of emotions. Personal trainer was something that I got into doing since I was 13, when I started going to the gym to lose fat and just get a bit in shape, especially just to, just for being a normal teenager and, get laid. Because I was always a chubby kid in the class, and I just didn't want it to be like that forever. So I got into the gym, I started training, everything was great actually. And the more I trained, the more I got obsessed about fitness and nutrition and strength training, and not only that, I could see how it made me better in other areas of my life. I also realized that I was big into productivity, and I realized how all of those things started to be like one holistic process of self-development. And that's when I get the feeling that I could actually help people to become the best version of themselves, because I want them to feel the same things that I was feeling. It just felt so good after you finish a training session, when you see your body change, when you got stronger. It just felt so good that I couldn't believe that people around me weren't doing it 24/7. The more experience I got and the older I got, I understood that it's not that people don't train because they don't know the benefits of exercise. They don't train because they have fears, they have shyness, they have other problems that prevent them from then exercising. Like, what are people are going to think about me in the gym? I'm too fat for going to the gym. Everyone's gonna make fun of me. I don't know how to do the exercises. And of course, those are things that you fix by going to the gym. But when I wanted to do this, it was when I was 18 and I was still living in Venezuela. And when I went to Spain, in Spain it was impossible for you to actually become a personal trainer. At least for the situation that I had when I was 18. The amount of money that you had to pay on taxes in Spain, it was disgusting. Just for you, it just doesn't make any sense. Over here in the UK, if you're a freelancer, you just become essentially an employee that does their own taxes. In Spain, you have to pay like 300 euros a month just for you to become a freelancer. It's mental. It's so much money that I couldn't afford. Like, if I was doing 2,000 euros a month, 1,000 euros were going to be to the government. That just doesn't make any sense in any head. So I just couldn't afford it when I was 18, a freshly new immigrant starting their life not only in a new country, but also the first time that they were making money in a real currency, making money in an actual job. There was just too much going on for me to take that risk. And when I was in Germany, well, I just didn't spoke German, so it was going to be impossible for me to get clients. It took me a few years, but finally when I got to the UK, I decided to take the jump, and I became a personal trainer a bit more than 2 years ago. The beginning was just like any other freelancer. How was I gonna get clients? How do I talk to people? I think that being a personal trainer is a bit different in terms of freelancing, because if you become an artist, or you're trying to sell your paintings, or you're trying to do your own thing, you don't have that concentration of potential clients in a single place. But if you're a personal trainer, you're going to have all of that people in the gym that you're working at. So it's slightly easier, but it's still quite challenging because you have to approach a bunch of strangers that you don't really want to disturb when they're exercising. I've been on the other side of the coin, and when I'm training, I don't really want to talk to anyone. But that's when I said to myself, what do I hate more? The emotion that I get when I talk to someone that clearly doesn't want to be disturbed and that I could potentially help, or being broke as fuck. During this time, I was trying to spend as much time in the gym as I could. The more time people could see me train, how I coach, how I portray myself in the gym, it was going to be much better for me to acquire more clients. So I was training 4 to 6 times a week while I was working full time as a barista, and I started going to university at the same time. So it was way too much for me to take on. It took me like 4 months to get my first client, even though I already started with a first client since the beginning. He was someone that I knew from before starting as a personal trainer, and he wanted me to coach him. But I'm counting my first real client as the ones that actually approached me completely organically, without knowing me beforehand. And after 6 months, I would say that that's when it really started to pick up. There was a moment, I remember I started in May, and then during September, October, that's when it became a bit better. Like, suddenly I grabbed 3 or 4 clients in a week, and everything started to going very well. By that point, I realized that I just couldn't keep doing the hours in the coffee shop because it was too much time. So I reduced my hours to 20 hours and kept PTing and going to university as usual. And it got to a point where I could afford to quit my job as a barista, but I just didn't want it to, because I didn't want it to lose that stable income. It felt like I was going to be living outside easy money that I could be winning, because I was making easy money there. But when I was working, it felt like I was wasting my life away. I just wanted to be over with it. And that emotion just piled up more and more and more. And I really dislike feeling like that. And what finally happened was that in January, so let's say 7 or 8 months after I started coaching, the coffee shop where I was working, it had to close down for me to take the jump and going freelancing 100% and being a personal trainer since then. It's been almost 2 years since that happened, and it's been amazing. I haven't touched a coffee machine in 2 years. But it was a lot of changes. I was going to be earning all of my income from personal training. I was going to university, and then the next month I was going to be moving to my own flat after flat sharing with my friend, and it was a big financial commitment. So I was in my head, like a part of me was saying, should I get another job? Should I try to just get, instead of 20 hours, 10 hours? And it didn't make any sense, because if I already had enough to live from this income, it only made sense that I kept growing it. So that's what I did. And I did took the right decision. I was quite happy, and I am quite happy with that decision. But it's not as pretty as it sounds. Objectively, yes, it's great. I'm working less and making more money, and I have much more freedom on my time, but I don't enjoy it as much as I thought that I would. You have to consider that when I'm with a client, it's not like if you're working on a normal 9 to 5 that you can just chill on your phone for a bit, take a coffee break, relax, go there. When I'm on 1 hour with a client, that's 1 hour of deep focus that I'm with them, and I have to be immersed with them. And when you have that multiple times in a row during a day, it just drains your life away, especially for me that I'm a massive introvert. And don't ask me why, I get much more drained socially when I speak in English than when I speak in Spanish. So it feels like someone is literally sucking my life away when I have so many sessions in one day that it's just unsustainable for me to build this as a career. If I'm in a computer, I don't need to talk to anyone. Worst case scenario, I just had to search something on Reddit or talk to some people on Reddit on Discord. There's not even a sentence that I have to say with my actual voice. It's beautiful. And this obviously affected relationships outside the gym, because of course I don't really want to spend so much time around people, even with really close friends, if I have to speak so much with so many different people every day. And that's not the whole idea. I also miss my friends, so I don't want them to feel that they're annoying me just because I'm always socially drained. So it's not really a good combination for me. And the biggest thing that I've noticed since I started coaching is that for me now, training feels like a part of a job. If I have, let's say, 2 sessions from 1 to 3, and then I have my own training from, let's say, 3 to 4 or 5, and I have another 2 clients, it just feels like I'm doing like a 6-hour shift. It doesn't feel like I'm taking a break from clients, and it's because I have to train in the same gym around the same people that I usually see. And yeah, I know what you're gonna say, it's probably better if I train in another gym, but the problem is that the gym where I train is super convenient for me. It's one of the best gyms in the city that I live. It's 5 minutes away from where I live, and if I have to go to another gym, it's at least half an hour of commuting on the way there and on the way back. So it's just not feasible for me to do so. So when I started noticing these small things piling up, I had to take more measurements for me to build a wall between my clients and my personal training and kind of other areas of my life. So I do things like archiving my chats with clients, not really checking the phone when I'm not on training hours, trying to minimize the things that I need to see from the coaching app when I'm not on the actual coaching mode, if that makes sense. Because if I don't build those barriers, I'm always thinking about coaching. But honestly, the biggest mindset shift that I had was when I started to develop projects on my own when coding, and I realized that this is what I wanted to do. Because as I said before, it's much easier to talk to a computer than it is to talk to a person. Because creating products has one of the things that I do find quite repetitive on training, and it's when you face a new problem, you need to encounter a new solution. When you're personal training, there's only so many exercises that you can use. It's not that you can reinvent the wheel on every type of what there exists. Like, the fundamentals are there, and usually that's the best for the majority of the people. So it's more about you communicating the message to that person and see how you tailor that communication to them, more than actually innovating in terms of exercises. And that's the part that I feel that it doesn't really relate to me. I like innovation, I like thinking outside the box, but at the same time, you also have to have some sort of structure to build upon. And with exercise, the structure is already there. You can adapt things and communicate things differently, but exercise are always going to be there. Like squat, bench, deadlift, all of those things and the variations are all going to be always there, and they're going to be more similar than they are different. But with coding, everything can be super different. Now I have to be realistic. It's an activity that I enjoy. I have really good clients. I love the relationship that I have with all my long-term clients and even short-term clients that I've had. They've all been amazing. That's what to this day pays the bills, so I can't complain too much about it. But my mindset shift from, oh, I want to do this for the rest of my life because this is something that I enjoy doing so much, to, oh, I don't think I enjoy this as much as I thought, so I think I'm gonna take a look at somewhere else, but I'm still going to maintain this and just put less focus on it, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to pour my soul into this thing because I tried it out and I realized that it's not as good as I thought, so I'm just gonna try something else, and I'm just gonna put all of my focus into improving my coding skills rather than my coaching skills. Now, obviously, all of the things about monetizing your hobbies, it really depends on what your hobby actually is, because there's a difference between becoming, I don't know, a wedding photographer and becoming a painter. They're not the same things, or even me becoming a personal training. They're not the same things. I think the two most successful successful ones that I've seen that are people that successfully monetize their hobbies is a girl that I follow on Instagram that, I think you know at this point that I'm a massive anime fan, and this girl does pottery, but she does mugs with specially themed anime things, and they look amazing. Their mugs are like, I don't know, $400, $800. It's a crazy amount of money, but she does it by batches, because since it's pottery, it's not like you can massively produce this, because they're quite handmade. So I think it's quite smart how she did it, because it works the same way with the seasonality of the anime. So if an anime is overhyped and she knows that it's going to be quite important to sell it at that point, she'll usually have a batch that is releasing around that time. I think right now she's absolutely close because she has so many others that she can't keep up, and that's always a good sign. And the other person that I've seen is a guy on Instagram that he paints. I think he now migrated a bit to painting like Louis Vuitton things, but he used to paint Nike Romalios, which are weightlifting shoes, and strength training belts. I think he only does SBD belts, but he can paint really well on the leather. And same system, I think it's a very similar system to what the tattoo artists do, where they just book really ahead, and they pretty much already, if they're good, obviously they already have like a year of bookings already done and prepaid, so their whole business is there. They just have to show up and that's it. I don't know what they think about that. They might actually enjoy their hobbies, but at least from the outside it looks like they still love what they do. And it also might be that I was just not meant to personal train for the rest of my life, and it looked so much better from the outside than from the inside, and it just doesn't fit with me. Because it's not that I think that being a personal trainer is a bad thing. I think it can be quite a fulfilling career. One of the most beautiful moments of my life have been sharing how a person becomes so much better that they can't recognize themselves 1 or 2 years after working with me. But I still think that if you have a hobby and you're thinking about monetizing it, I will say that it may not be as pretty as you think. I think the only hobby that I've thought monetizing that at the same time I really don't want to because I really enjoy it now is gaming. For me, gaming is amazing, but I feel like the moment that you start streaming and you start making money out of it, it definitely becomes more and more like a chore. Because in the end, gaming gives you like a break of real life, but is that your real life and you have to spend 10 hours, 8 hours a day just video games and video games and video games, it has to be so draining. I at least know that I wouldn't be able to do it, but at the same time, I don't want to risk it. And then suddenly, oh wow, I'm super successful at this, and then video games are ruined for me. Maybe that doesn't happen, but I just don't want to risk it, especially after this experience. Now, if you decide to ignore me because in the end I'm just a stranger online, make sure to have a plan after you monetize it to see what are you going to do. One step at a time, obviously. It's not that I want you to think like 10 years ahead, what am I going to do if I don't enjoy my career? But definitely have some safety measurements, because if you put all of your eggs in one basket, you might be disappointed. There's a difference between taking a risk because you're building a company or you're building something that it can be bigger than yourself, but when you are the actual product, it can be quite tricky, because then you can be a slave in some way to the activity that you're doing because you see no way out of it. But do whatever you want. In the end, it's your life. Hope you like this video, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.